Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Slime, Season 4.
Yep, Slime, Season 4, Episode 13. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. It's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and last time, at the end of the episode, Gaia hatched, so that was something we didn't have to wait too long for at all. The Magitrain was a thing. Rimuru did things that were meeting adjacent that probably, upset some people, but it is what it is because this, once again, is a world-building show. I don't know what you guys want. End of statement. Goodbye. Not going to rehash all that, but it is what it is. Going forward, we had our theory from last week confirmed by next week's thumbnail. So I'm not going to say it, but, how about them apples? We'll probably talk about that a little bit more next week. Maybe we'll get some of that in this episode based on the stuff that we talked about last week with Diablo potentially coming back with whoever he's coming back with and whatnot. We speculated that was Violet and stuff like that, but we'll not to, I'm sure if you guys are watching on Crunchyroll, you can see this freaking thumbnail down there, but it's for those of you who don't, or whatever, just watching with us or whatever, I'm not going to say it. We'll talk about it when it happens, but go us, whatever. But either way, I might have to find another key visual since that key visual over there is all Maribel, and she's kind of out of the story now. I wonder if they did like a Core 2 key visual that I can throw up there. Because the Maribel part of this story is kind of over outside of whatever Granville decides to try to do to Luminous. So, but that's going to be coming at some point in the next several arcs, because once again, we're a little over the halfway point of the series. So we got a ways to go. Once again, after this core, there are still going to be 3 more cores. Yeah, so that's another 40-something episodes to go, almost 50. So we got a little bit to go. But anyway, that being said, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here based on everything that happened. Just continue the world building, whatnot. The stuff we mentioned last time with Diablo coming back with certain people, potentially. So we'll just have to see what happens. We had the cool stuff with Kurobe and his, totally not materia weapons. There was a lot of cool stuff last time as well. So we'll just have to see what happens. Gaia once again is a thing. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that character, if they do anything with that character. But we're super batch cast at this point. So at a certain point, we have to get back to Benny Maru's conundrum. I need to see what happens with that. But at the very least, I know that if it doesn't happen in the show, it'll probably happen in the gacha game, and I'll probably cover that and put an episode out about certain things that were in the game and whatnot, and just kind of like have a no commentary, just like, hey, here's the story for those people who don't play the game. You can just kind of like watch it. But anyway, we're gonna push some buttons and get going here, see what happens with Rimuru and the gang. So yeah, people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the time reaction, and people on YouTube Beyond, we'll see you on the other side for the discussion and review, and all the links are down there. Check out Patreon, check out Twitch, whatnot. So, here goes something. Well, there you go. There's another episode in the books. A bunch of stuff happened in this episode. Some reasonably expected, like Malim getting drug off by Frey because, well, she didn't keep her promise, and stuff like that. So, I
mean, she got a whole month off.
Yeah, she got a whole month off. Are you kidding me? But, and some unexpected things, like the whole Dino thing. I mean, we knew Dino would have to be part of something at some point because he was introduced as a character and he's part of Okuram and apparently a big deal. But didn't think that this is what they were going to do with him. But we'll just let Fuse continue doing Fuse things. But either way, we kicked off the episode with, the rite of passage for Gaia, all that kind of stuff. The dungeon is a perfect place for Gaia to learn how to fight and, do dragon things. So, it's not going to, basically, collateral damage in the countryside. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's what the dungeon is great for, is like a training ground, and there's still real creatures that can be, used for materials, food and otherwise.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's actually would be kind of hard for them to just take Gaia out to go hunt in the forest, because a big part of the whole thing with the dungeon is they're essentially concentrating all of the magicules in the forest into the dungeon to make all the monsters spawn there instead.
To keep the roads safe and whatnot. So that's
what they have. They have the warding stones that repel monster spawns near the roads, and they have like all of the high-powered monsters centered in Tempest, with all of that stuff being once again directed by Romulus into the labyrinth to cause the monsters to spawn.
Yeah, on top of Veldora just emanating magicules from floor 100 and creating more crap. So, yeah, it's definitely a system that's working. But either way, that was a solid way to introduce Gaia and stuff like that. We got a little bit of lore on the true dragons here, stuff like that. So that was cool. Well, we didn't get more of their names. We do know that Malim's father is Velnama. So the only other one that's we have Veldora, Velzard, and Malim's father Velnava, and then whoever the fourth one is.
The fourth one is the eldest sister. I know Velzard and Veldora are the two youngest, but I don't know the name of the eldest sister. But I do know it's two brothers, two sisters, and that's the two eldest that we haven't seen yet.
Got it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when the dragons become a thing. They'll probably be more part of the end game, like with the angel stuff that Luminous was talking about, that kind of thing. The angel stuff, I assume that's just my dartboard theory on what the end game of the series is stopping what essentially sounds like the Reaper cycle from Mass Effect, like an extinction cycle from Beyond, whatever that is, wherever the angels are from, whatever that is. So that's probably what the end game of the series is going to be, that kind of thing. So the dragons are probably going to have more to do with that for whatever reason they may be tied to it. You know what I mean? It could be any myriad of things. But we got the new OP here. I'll change the key visual next week because the key visual does play some importance in what's going to be going on. So a lot of stuff going on in this stuff we talked about, like with Jean Blanc and Violet. In case anybody is wondering why they're not all colors, Blanc and Jean are just French and or Spanish for white and yellow. So still colors, just different language.
Yeah, I mean they've used different languages. Like for example, Diablo was Noir.
Yeah, he was Noir. So either way, lots of stuff to be said about that OP. There's the time traveling mass hero spirit, that kind of thing. The tie to Chloe, stuff like that. We have, we know that Luminous has the body of the hero. She likes to freezer burn herself on it in her spare time. Everybody's got to have a hobby besides mating, I guess, right? Mating, not mating. Those are two different things. Mating, like maids, that kind of thing. But
we still haven't gotten a whole lot on the Masked Hero. Just we know that she's going to be relevant again at some point because of all the stuff with Luminous. And we're both pretty convinced that it is like an alternate timeline Chloe.
Yeah.
And the greater spirit that possessed her is somehow tied to that, most likely.
Yeah, it was somehow tied to the Great Spirit of Time or something like that Ramirez mentioned. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Fuse does with that. But, going forward, we have, brand new vessels that Ramirez has stuck the elemental cores into, the pseudo souls, that kind of stuff. And we saw what happened this episode when they forcibly try to insert Veldora's Magicule straight into it to speed up the process. You just get a stronger version, which is how Ifrit got their body back. But first,
Yeah.
I mean, we did see him with the whole octogram thing. He is one of the big time demon lords, stuff like that. Apparently, the strongest of the newer generations of demon lords. So, but he is the shut-in neat stereotype, 100%. It's hilarious. He was crashing on Daggeral's couch, and then Daggeral kicked him out. He probably got fed up with him taking the place of his sons and, kicked him out. And Guy doesn't want anything to do with him. So Guy is just dropping everything on Rimuru because, he's the new guy. So they need to haze the new guy. It's like, well, he's doing all this crap, so he might as well deal with Dino too. Why the hell should I deal with Dino? This is crap. He's Guy Crimson, damn it.
Rimuru's the upstart newcomer who's over here getting his hands in too many things anyway, so why don't just give him another thing since he wants to be such a busybody.
Right, so Dino is a him problem. But this kind of storyline for like the neat character and stuff like that is pretty traditional, stereotypical, whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dino and like what becomes of just like what he's gonna do, because the only other thing that I saw of Dino, and I always talk about like the side stories in the gacha game, was the only time Dino has shown up in my time in the gacha game, besides just being like a random like a poll character for just like a side thing, not like part of like one of Fuse's like side stories, was he was a fairly major part of the Sword Art Online crossover. I don't know why, but he was a pretty big part of it, and he was a pretty big deal during it. So
that kind of would make sense from what little I know about him, because I don't know much about Dino. Like, I've deliberately tried to stay as vague on him as I can, but I do know like a lot of people consider him to be the strongest of the new generation, which doesn't necessarily say much, because most of the new generation was stuff like Frey and everything like that.
Frey, Carrion, Clayman, that kind of stuff. They were all not like awakened. He's awakened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I believe his power, either his powers or his origin or something like that, has something to do with the angels, from what little I've heard. And if he does have something to do with the angels, him being one of the major people tied into a, other universe crossing over would make sense.
Right. He was, just a brief synopsis of that event was SAO's universe kind of like crashing into the Slimeverse. It was rewriting characters like Shuna, Shion, even characters that powerful, as NPCs of Aincrad, and they lost their personalities, and there were very few people that could resist it, and Dino was one of them. Like Guy, obviously, Luminous, stuff like that, but Guy sends Dino to help with it, because apparently that's something he's good with. Incursions. Just saying. So that's, some side meta knowledge of Dino. Not really a spoiler, but something to think about for his character for the future of the series as it stands right now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like an interesting thing to think about for Dino's character going forward. Even if he's just going to be relegated to Ramirez's, assistant for the moment, which is kind of hilarious because one of his very few lines during the Octogram meeting was him being bent out of shape that Ramirez had attendance and he didn't.
Yeah.
And now he's working for her.
Well, just kind of in general, like all of the new generation freaking Demon Lords kind of all eyebrow raise Ramirez's even existence, because as far as their lifespans are really concerned, though apparently Dino's at least like 1,000 years old, Ramirez is no big deal. They've only really seen her in her weaker form. Right.
Like even in this episode he mentions like, wasn't she just like stuck in a labyrinth or something last time? So yeah, it's
Which, this episode apparently they mentioned that like Dino is at least like 1,000 years old, but we still don't know how long he's actually been a Demon Lord, just that he's considered part of the new gen.
Right. So either way, some fairly interesting stuff happened in this episode with the Dino stuff. Obviously, we got the stuff with Ifrit. I had to make the joke about them losing the VA that is predominantly known for Ainz and a couple other characters, but I mostly know him for Ainz and a couple other characters. He does he did Ifrit, and he did randomly he was a character like a kind of side character in Campfire Cooking. He was like the older mage guy from Iron Will. that randomly decided at one point to have like a Italian accent. It was so weird.
Yeah, he's done a lot of random side characters and stuff like that. Like Ainz is one of his main ones that I know of, where he's actually like the main character for. But funnily enough, we've talked about the fact that he plays Ainz and Ainz.
Yeah, Ainz and Ainz.
Yeah, he's also freaking Ainz, the dwarf from Frieren.
Yeah, he's also Ainz the dwarf from Frieren, which is unbelievably hilarious that he plays two different characters with the same name.
Completely different characters.
Completely. To be fair, the name of his avatar was technically Momonga, but
Ainz was the name of the guild.
Well, Ainz was the name of the guild,
fine.
but he is now going by Ainz Ulgo, and we could argue semantics all day. But the point here is that he plays Ainz and Ainz. It's kind of like Johnny talking to Johnny in Persona 4, which they took from us. Let's not forget that Atlas took Johnny talking to Johnny from us in the P4 remake.
Yeah, I haven't looked at who is gonna voice Adachi now.
Right. So, either way, that is what it is. And when I mention Johnny, I'm talking about Johnny Bashang. Most of you probably know him as his role for... he was one of the Power Rangers back in the day, but his biggest role is Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. Among another myriad of roles that he's done. But he is predominantly known for Ichigo. English VA. Anyway. But, yeah.
But yeah, in the original voice casts, he plays a handful of characters throughout the Persona series, but most notably is he plays both the main character in 4 and Adachi. So whenever the main character talks to Adachi, it's Johnny talking to Johnny.
Yeah, it's Johnny talking to Johnny. That was a big thing with my streams. Like, oh man, Johnny's talking to Johnny again. For at least the English side of stuff, obviously. But still, that was something that was pretty interesting because you Murakami, the main character of P4, doesn't have a lot of voice lines because it's just, him calling out like the persona names and stuff like that. He doesn't have like the voice lines when he's talking because you're just reading it because you're playing as him. You know what I mean? I know in the remake they said they were going to have a fully voiced most of the stuff, so it'll be interesting to see if Yu's lines are fully voiced. Like when you pick a response, then he speaks them. You know what I mean? Not that there's a ton of responses that you have. There are a couple choices that he makes in some of those conversations, but most of them are just like a normal character, but they were never really voiced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in general, the main characters in Persona games don't have like much spoken dialogue in the games. The main times that they have spoken dialogue usually is in like side things. Like most of Yu's dialogue is from like spoken dialogue is from like the anime or from Ultimax.
Yeah.
Or freaking PQ.
Yeah. So either way, back on the Ifrit note, Ifrit is now a stance dancer of a interesting variety. When they want to be fire, they're a dude. When they want to be wind, they're a female. Much to Veldora's dismay when they evolved initially. And now Ifrit has 2 VAs, which is kind of hilarious. I was completely derailed by like, well, I guess Ainz isn't part of this series now. And, well, then when he's a guy, it'll be Ainz. When it's a female, then it'll be whoever does the VA for a female Ifrit.
I didn't recognize her immediately.
Her and all of her personality. Yeah. I think that was the first thing Rimuru noticed, was her personality. So... Gotta love the comic relief of all this kind of stuff. But either way, it was definitely an interesting episode across the board. Once again, the tree was used. This is the tree, you guys. And I think that's when the series is going to truly end, is when the town fully reaches the tree.
I mean, it's getting pretty close already.
Like, I'm not sure if this shot showed Tempest in the background, but this is the tree. Like, this is like the I need to talk to you tree, because this is the tree that he talks to everybody at. Like, he had his heart to heart with Shizu here. Then he had his heart to heart with Yom here. This is where he recruited Diablo. You know what I mean? This is where they popped up after the Walpurgis meeting ended. You know what I mean? They ran down the hill at the end of season 2.
This is where he won his duel with Malim.
Yeah, this is where he won his duel with Malim by shoving honey in her face. So, you want to talk about the most meaningful place in the entirety of this franchise? It's this freaking tree, and people probably don't talk about it enough. So I'm going to keep bringing up the tree. You know how important it is? It's in the board game in the DD. It's the home tile. So, this tree is serious business. If anything ever happens to this tree, we're going to have some freaking problems.
Yeah.
So, let's not sleep on this tree, just in general. You know, maybe it has some super important part to play for some freaking reason.
I mean, Uru slept in the tree a number of times.
Yeah. So, either way, tree aside, you know, we have a couple new members of Tempest. Yeah, you can kind of see this town a little bit in the background there. That like sweeping hillside and mountain range. There was always kind of like a backdrop for Tempest and stuff like that. But yeah, they had their heart to heart. They're cool now, and they evolved into a Flame Lord. So they should be excellent in any Reddit thread. But yeah, the stancing version of Ifrit has arrived, and now they are, you know, masters of 2 different elements. Their original flame element, and now that they're tied to Veldora in their female form, they are more attuned to wind. So he's the Storm Dragon. What do you guys want?
Yeah, Veldora's natural element is wind, so him having a connection to Veldora and being named by Veldora gives him wind powers. But then also, once again, the body that he's inhabiting is made out of Charybdis's core, which Charybdis was also a wind monster. Right.
And apparently female. There's some random trivia that something you don't really think about with a giant flying fortress creature is what is it? Is it male or female? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. Freaking, it's kind of just weird in general how fantasy occasionally feels the need to assign genders to things that otherwise don't really need genders. Like Charybdis was a unique being. It's not like it's going to be reproducing.
Yeah.
Like a very similar case is freaking Rek'Sai in League is female, canonically. But Rek'Sai is a void beast that doesn't reproduce or anything. Her entire purpose is, you know, just to try to destroy reality.
Right. You know, and in this series especially, we were talking about Guy earlier. Guy apparently can assume any form he wants. He had that whole proposition to Leon. It's like, I could take the form of a woman and we could do it.
Yeah, the primordial demons choose how they look. They don't actually even have a physical form to begin with. The physical forms that they have are just ones that they decided to assume.
Yeah.
Like, Guy made his own body and then made bodies for Rain and Misery.
Yeah.
And then what we see of, like, Violet and stuff like that is just their projected image of them because they're just beings of pure energy.
Yep. But either way, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dino from here on out. You know, he's currently in what I want to call Tempest Shock. It seems to be what happens to everybody when they came here, you know, the first time. So this is Tempest Shock. That's his phase. So that's where he is now. That's just where he's at. And now he's going to be hanging out with Vesta. So why not? Dino in a lab coat? Sure. He's kind of looking like young Rick from Rick and Morty. Completely different characters, but still. It will be interesting to see what they do with Dino and Ifrit here. Especially since I did kind of eyebrow raise it, like, you know, Ramira saying she needs assistance. It's like, well, she now has a ton of Dryasville Dryads who are now on the level of trainee. They are already a big deal, and now they're Dryasville Dryads. So
10 of them are.
Yeah, 10 of
That was
them are.
They made the rest of the remaining dryads bodies, so now they're all capable of physical forms. And apparently 10 other ones have evolved. So now there's, I believe, a total of 12 or 13 evolved dryads.
Yeah, because it was Trainee and her two sisters. Because it was Trya and it was like a very Americanized name, like Sarah or something. I forget what the third one was.
Yeah, it was Trainee, her two sisters, and now the new 10. And I don't think there were any others that were evolved yet, but there might have been like one or two other ones.
Yeah, but
by the way, it's like mid-teens now for the evolved dryads.
Yeah. Either way, so she has all that plus Dino. But what I was getting at was, what's Beretta doing? She was the first assistant. You know, she took over for the Elemental Colossus. That was the whole thing. Is she just running a shop somewhere now?
Well, Beretta, yeah, is more like, once again, probably is equivalent to Diablo. She's more just kind of her friggin' maid/butler. She doesn't really help with matters of like science and technical things.
Right. But either way, a lot of interesting stuff happened in this episode. I appreciated it. And then we got left on the whole Diablo going to find these three. So, yeah. Well, he did mention that he wanted 1,000 subordinates. I think he's probably just going to settle for the three major ones, and then he'll probably bring over a bunch of like his faction, because Beretta was his faction. She was she's a
black demon.
She's a black demon. So
yeah, that was the whole thing. Yeah, that was kind of like, it was, Beretta was like one of the first times like it was actually like mentioned, and they went into details of it, that like, once again, the whole thing is all of the like current races and stuff like that trace back to one of the primordial beings.
Yeah.
So like all the demons are descended from the initial magic of one of the primordial demons. So like every demon is one of the 7 colors.
Yeah.
Based on who they originated from.
And apparently the black demons love being servants. They live to serve, basically. That's their whole gimmick. That's why Diablo wanted to work for Rimuru so bad, was because that's just their thing. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, and based on the progenitor for whatever like the being descends from, they inherit personality traits from them. And so like Diablo is a very subservient individual. He prefers to follow powerful individuals rather than be the one in charge himself. Yeah. And so that's just a natural trait of black demons.
So the rest of the swath of subordinates he wants will probably be all from his clan. You know what I mean?
A reasonable chunk of them probably will be black demons, but they could also, he probably is also accounting for
the other 3.
Yeah, the other 3 and their existing following going with them when he recruits them.
Yeah.
Though I believe the whole thing with like yellow demons is that they are loners and very like power focused and stuff like that. So Jean probably doesn't have very many direct followers.
Yeah.
If any.
Yeah. But either way, our theory still pretty much obviously confirmed, especially by the thumbnail over there and then this little end bit with Diablo. The only thing really up in the air is will they become like the heads of state like we talked about? You know what I mean? That's like the only thing that's kind of like part of our theory of whether that'll happen or not. It's pretty obvious that Diablo's going to recruit all 3 of them. So, you know.
Yeah, he's 100% dragging all 3 of them to Tempest. The question is, will they stay in Tempest? Like, what ones will stay in Tempest? And if they do stay in Tempest, are they going to be one of the new heads of state?
Yeah. So, either way, once again, another solid episode for world building stuff. You know, I think they're doing a good job splitting time for some of the newer stuff and stuff. Stuff. Yeah, that's very articulate, I know. But, you know, it will be interesting to see like when we get back to some of like the main cast, you know, like what's going on with like the originals, you know what I mean, like the, you know, like the Gabiroos and Benimaru and stuff like that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff is important for building up Tempest to what it's going to be and stuff like that. And then we'll probably start dealing with stuff outside of Tempest, like Leon, the time traveling spirit, that kind of stuff, Chloe's connection to it, Luminous's connection to it, whatever Granville decides to do, the Angel endgame stuff. Like I said, there's still plenty of time. So, looking forward to it.
Granville is pretty heavily featured in the OP. So, presumably, we're still going to be dealing with him in the immediate.
Yep. So, either way, I'm excited to see where this core goes. And then, once again, the source material did wrap up last year. So, they're probably going full steam ahead on production on this for the last 3 cores. So, I can't imagine there'll be too much time between the end of this core and whenever the next part of Season 4 starts, the 3rd core. So, yeah. I'm excited for it. Should be great. So, you got anything else for this one, Age? Besides me killing my voice.
I didn't. Like, I was in the middle of talking about the whole thing with the progenitors that extends beyond just the demons. That's like all beings follow some sort of progenitor. Like the only thing we don't really have any sort of context for a progenitor for is humans at the moment.
Right.
But like the demons, progenitors, or the primordial demons, monsters are all tied to the freaking the true dragons. Spirits are Ramiris. And I'm drawing a blank on beyond that. But yeah, the progenitors are just a thing in general for like all of the life on this world. That's just like who or whatever created the world created the progenitors, and then all of the rest of the life spawned from them.
Yep. So either way, next episode should be quite interesting based on the implications and what we talked about. So that will be a thing. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And this was Slime, Season 4, Episode 13. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hello again, everyone. Victoria here. Don't forget about those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is always appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.